Hi, everybody. We are here for another radiant testimony, and we have a couple this time. From Europe, we have Michael and Manon Yorkin Maznarova.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so we're here to hear your experience of how it was to be in the Radiant program. Would you like to just introduce your couple a little bit in the beginning?
Sure. So, thank you for the quick intro. As mentioned before, I'm Michael, and this is my wonderful wife, Mano.
Oh, wonderful.
And we've been blessed since 2022, 16th of April. And now we are basically in our second year being blessed. And well, I'm from Switzerland. More precisely, my mother, she's from Switzerland, but my dad, he's half Russian, half Ukrainian. And they were blessed in 1995.
And my parents, my mom is French and my dad is Czech, and they got blessed in 1992 and had me a bit years later. But anyways, I come from a family of 3 siblings. So I'm the youngest, I'm the baby. I have a brother, a sister, and then me. And Michael comes from a similar family.
So I also have an older brother, a sister, the middle child, and me.
Yeah, so we're both youngest child.
Yeah. So I'm 23 years old right now.
Me as well, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. What inspired you to join Radiant? What was your reason, your motivation?
Yeah.
You go for it.
So what inspired me was our friend Andranik Karagesian, because he talked about it with me when we were together in Albania for Empower, this European program. And I was just sharing with him of like, yeah, it's been a bit difficult these past months and our relationship with Michael. And he was kind of sharing also how it was for him with his wife, Sandra. And then he suggested that we join this program, which he joined with Sandra. Saying that it was something helpful for them, and that if we want to, he thinks it would be very good for us. Also for Michael, because he felt like, yeah, maybe he needs also more brothers by his side. And for me, more sisters who are co-wives, co-husbands. So that was our inspiration. But what motivated us was, yes, we had rough patches in autumn, I would say. We had quite a low in our relationship. Just to go briefly about it, Michael came back he had military service because in Switzerland is mandatory. And I moved right after he finished to Switzerland. So he had to adjust to life again, to real life, from having this very, how would you say, rough environment? How would you describe it?
I would say very structured, very orderly, strongly hierarchical, kind of a routine. Yes.
Anyway, a very men world, kind of. And I had to move in, kind of like the moving was like leaving my past life behind and adjusting to a whole new life. And that was very, it's kind of difficult to adjust also to Michael's family, because we are very different into our home kind of, how do you say, like taking care of a
family
home.
Family
culture, taking care of a home. We are very different. And so we both were in this need of kind of support, but we both needed it and weren't fully able to give it to one another, which made that we had this kind of low. So we were slowly getting out of it when Andranik was talking with me about it. But yeah, I felt we still needed more support to get better into our relationship.
Well, my inspiration was my wife because she proposed it. And it also fit with the time somehow, because as you mentioned before, it was like once we started living together, like the situation here is I live with my parents, we live with my parents and also with my brother and his wife. So it's not like we have our own flat or our own space, like we do have it, but we share it, right, with my family. So that, of course, adds another layer to this. On the other hand, once we kind of like had more stability in the terms of that, you started working and I started my studies, the days became a bit more like, how would you say? We were more like coexisting. Like she had, like you had your routine, I had my routine. And at the end of the day, we would come back home, we would eat, maybe watch something, but not really interact too much because we'd be exhausted or busy with something else. And then we'd just go to sleep and the next day would be similar. So it was a good timing actually to kind of rekindle that, like to be conscious of what we're going through actually. So yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for explaining like what inspired you to join Radiant and kind of the context and what it was like what the feeling of your relationship and the blessing was like, I guess up until the point before you joined Radiant. So how would you say has Radiant impacted your marriage and your relationship to each other?
So as I've mentioned before a little bit, that at that time, once it was kind of proposed to us, it was yeah, more of a kind of, we had our routines, we had kind of the reality of the day in our face, and thus also many things, like once we had kind of more this routine or structure in our daily life, a few arguments from the past, like at that time when, for example, I came back from the army, or how you came like here to Switzerland to integrate, these things kind of came up again, and it was a moment where we really needed to like again address it, look at it together. How it impacted, of course, was again by engaging with other brothers or sisters, having also different situations in their blessings. Like some started very, like they just got blessed recently and had their 40-day separation. Others were blessed already a bit longer. And kind of these conversations, at least from my side with the brothers, was very helpful. Like to see again, to interact, to kind of see, okay, where are some struggles, where are again like these positive sides to take in, to reflect about it, and to also share with one another. And that for me was again kind of, oh yeah, actually I remember we have like it's such a privilege to be blessed, to be in our like heavenly culture, in this, having this tradition of, being blessed, having this focus on one another, trying to create a good family. And what it was at the same time during the Radiant program was also sometimes some spiritual attacks. Like I'm not spiritually open, but it felt like there were some forces trying to, no, don't go again, or don't try to get together like more closer, because yeah, of course, like it's not per se to it's not good to become indifferent, because then you kind of grow out of each other. But actually no, by actually rubbing our heads together and actually contending with past arguments or with current situations to really look at these things in detail, that was a great initiative that the Radiant program really offered. And also that we could sit together and really discuss, okay, what is our goal really? What kind of rules do we want to implement in our daily life to each other? Because one day we want to also create a big, beautiful family. And instead of waiting until the moment we realize that, oh, Mano is pregnant, okay, now we can try to be good parents, that we would start these habits and traditions now, right? To become good examples to each other, but also once we have children, to be a good team, a better team.
Yeah, I think like what he means to here is the Norstar Goal, right? Was it like this named? Yeah. Sorry. So this was what I think helped us a lot, even though at first I was kind of like, another kind of, okay, goal setting, okay, let's see if that works. But yeah, we sat down and we're like, okay, what do we actually really want from our relationship? Like, what do we want to represent as a couple? And we really took time to sit down. We went to a coffee shop. We went out of the home. We decided, okay, we take it very seriously. We took my notebook. We were writing it down, and then yeah, we said what is our vision, what are some things that, some rules we don't accept actually, like that are hurtful to our relationship. So what do we do differently, or what is it? So that was very meaningful for both of us, because I think that was also a time where we both felt very hurt, because I think that was also the problem. We many times felt not understood from one another, but because we could be able to focus on this North Star goal, we were able to sit down and talk properly. Okay, what is your idea of our relationship? What is my idea of the relationship? So yeah, that was really good. But also, like, aside of that, I think having my co-wife sisters was very good, very meaningful, because yeah, it gets lonely when you move to another country, when you leave stuff around. And so having kind of like this opportunity to talk with other wives, not everyone was in the same situation as me in my group, but still like feeling able to like be heard, and people like sisters kind of connecting with me. And then also just, as a woman, I now live with a man. I mean, a different kind of man. Of course, I have my father and my brother in my life, but now I have a husband, and it's completely different relationship. So yeah, like being able to talk about how is it to when there's arguments, or like, oh, these things trigger me or something, or how do you deal with this? It's a very nice feeling to really have this companionship of fellow wives, I would say. Yeah. Yeah, so that was meaningful, and I think the results are not very big right now, I would say. Like, it impacted us for sure. I was like, I do feel a difference in that we are much closer, and we are really putting effort into our romance as well. We set a goal of like, okay, every week a date, because this we didn't do before. That's this we were in this routine of like, yeah, waking up, and then maybe in the evening, if we can, watch a movie, but no real interaction, no real quality time. So yeah, we decided to like properly have time for our romance, so that we don't go back into this kind of bad circumstances in our relationship, or yeah, just yeah, like going back into these little arguments. Yeah, so that was, I think, what impacted us. It takes time. I think we still have our little arguments here and there, but I feel like now we are a bit more able to have a different approach on how we talk and how we want to solve things together. Yeah.
Just to add also with the like the big change, like there's of course there's always this effect, especially also after workshop, to be inspired, to really take initiative, to set goals like this. But we kind of already had this during the Radiant, knowing that, okay, yeah, like these are good informations, but we should take it like in a sincere level, to know that, okay, we have now these like great people that we talk to and that we can share with and that we can listen to. But at the same time, like using this energy, using this input sincerely, that we can, okay, these are good aspects, because like not everything that we, or like not everything that we heard also through the inputs were like completely new. Like we had also our blessing preparation workshop and our matching process. Like there were many things that we already knew from each other, or prepared for, or received already guidance from other, like from our own parents. But really this, again, this reminder, like this focus on how crucial it is to be a good couple to one another, and to really invite God in this couple, really to keep that in our minds, to keep that consciously, and not just have it passively as we go along. And that's why we take time, and as we set the goal, like trying to implement those. If we make mistakes, it takes time, we correct it, and to take it on this serious note. And so as of so far, I would also say, like just to add up to that, is yeah, by actually being able to take a different approach, and by understanding each other's point of views more clearly, and also like, not, of course, having more routine, especially now that, already you lived here already how long?
Oh, now it's gonna be a year.
A
I
year,
moved
right?
June last year.
Yeah,
Now
true.
it's June, so 1st of June. It's gonna be a year now. Yeah.
True. And yeah, that also, of course, this routine of like you've been already here for a year, to integrate these parts, especially now, is very crucial. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It's so interesting because you mentioned a lot of the components of the program, right? From how it helped you to be in community with other young husbands and other young wives and be connected through that and be prompted through the program to have different conversations with each other, like different questions that come up. The Norstar Goal you mentioned, right? Like actually, although there might have been hesitation in the beginning towards general goal setting, to actually take the time to, okay, what is our actual goal for a couple? What's the vision for a couple? Something I'm curious about is you mentioned the conversation yet about like finding this vision and goal for your couple. Have there been any other discussion or conversation that was inspired in your couple through the Radiant program, or any like discussion questions that came up or topics that came up that like brought you to have a new or have a conversation again that was impactful and meaningful for you two?
I have one, but
Go for it. Go for it.
all right. No, for me, it was like another point that I, like, especially now as I'm also in my studies, I kind of, starting having a few friends there as well, and to really see the difference in, let's say, the secular world and the culture that we want to develop or that we want to implement in our lives is very different. So really to talk about very intimate things, really about, when it comes to a sexual relationship, this, I think there's such a beauty behind it. Like when I could share with my brothers and the brothers could share with us, like in our circle, about like struggles or like stories, like these types of things, and not receive, or like being able to openly share about these things, knowing that, hey, like we're looking at it in a very mature way. It's not like hookup story culture stuff. It's really about a deep connection between a man and a woman. So for me, really, these types of conversations really like really helped me, because in my environment with some people that I'm with, like there are sometimes these types of stories going on, and different kinds of like relationship situations or situations, or like ever I don't know how they call it, this type, these forms of very very downtrodden forms of relationships. I find it very tragic. And to be able to talk about these things with brothers, about husbands, or even like the ones that just got recently blessed, to kind of have already a preparation in some way, potentially, maybe they know it more better through their reflections on what we talked about. But these moments I really cherished, because we could really see again the difference on how we see the opposite sex, and how we see the sexual relationship as sacred, and how seriously we take it. And that was definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I was also thinking of that, like also including our heavenly parent into our intimate life. That's actually, something I think we try, but we didn't try enough. And I think this program helped us to really remind us, like, hey, this is one of the most holy thing that there is on this earth. Like sex is not just some pleasure, but it's actually really something beautiful and spiritual. So even though I think we have it very well into our intimate life, I think we are lucky to not have struggles, actually. We struggle more in the relationship wise than in our intimate life. We are very blessed, I would say. So even just being able to add our heavenly parent into it really felt a difference, actually. Like, we were more mindful into, including our heavenly parent. So that was great. And yes, talking with the sisters about it so freely was nice. Of course, there's like funny stories here and there, because everyone in our movement usually not everyone, but usually it's like people are getting new to it, and it's fun to talk about it when it comes to the first times and so on. But yeah, also like having a few sisters in my group who didn't start yet their intimate sexual life with their partner, and then being able to also like give them advice and how it works. So it felt very good, and like a good sisterhood again, of like, yeah, we're here for one another, we help each other. And even like calling outside of the radiant calls, like to have one-on-one calls with some sisters that just like, hey, so how is it, like, how are you, like really taking time for another sister kind of to help her out so that it can be better for them or something. So that was yeah, something more, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing. That's beautiful. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share about your experience in Radiant, um, or how that has impacted your couple, or anything that you think would be good for somebody to hear as they're deciding whether or not to join Radiant?
I would say definitely, no matter in which stage you are, I think no matter if you just recently got blessed, if you're already like us, like 2 years in, if you're 4 years in, I would even make the hypothesis that even if you're 10 years in or longer, that something like this is definitely a net positive for your relationship. Like, as I said in the beginning, what was very practical was, okay, we have time on Monday, for example, like really just simple, like organizatory stuff. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. And at the end, there was always a very, like, at least in my group also, kind of a very lighthearted kind of takeaway at the end of the day. And that's why, from how like we were sharing as like, my group, there were, like, as I said, some that just got blessed, and kind of the middle ones, and then the ones that are really like 3 or 4 years blessed. And I think no matter in what situation the couple is, like in time wise, or even if like whether it's still distant, like a distance relationship, whether it's like living together, whether it's living with family, whether it's just got blessed a few months ago or a month ago, or being blessed for a longer time, I think there's always something to take away with, as it can be a guideline, or again, these reminders of what we are actually enjoying or are enriched by in this heavenly tradition, by being, by wanting to be a family under God and with God. So for like, if anyone would ask me on this, as you just did, is really like, go for it, like just try, and there will be at least one thing that you will like.
Yeah.
No matter where, like if you are like 10 years in and you think you saw everything, there will be always something that can enrich you. And even if you just started into going into this, then it's a good foundation to start with, to enter a blessed life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's great, actually, that's what I remember wanted to say. It's great that the Radiant is not like keeping people into like, oh, the newly blessed stay together and the old blessed, but that it's mixed, because that was the most beautiful part. We were able to be reminded, oh wow, they're so in love, these new ones, who just got blessed, and I can see their eyes are sparkling when they talk about their spouses, and we're like, our eyes are fuming when we talk about our spouses. So it was really nice to actually see, yeah, this is actually, the fresh love again that we should have. Like, we should nourish this fresh love in our life. I think that's not something that vanishes away. It's something you should nurture and put priority to. And then for the old ones, for the new ones, to be able to be inspired by the old ones. So I think that's just it itself, I think, is very helpful for whomever. Just having also, this companionship with fellow spouses. Yeah.
Just additionally also, I think we have a very good network as well when it comes to this Radiant program, or with High Noon in general, in the sense that we really, as a community, also like from like can also be first gen, but now that we are really kind of establishing more blessings, like once in a while, that there can be these conversations also about expectations, for especially younger couples, or like what can we expect in a sexual relationship, or when there is a conflict or a fight or an argument or a disagreement, how to handle these things. Because funny enough, yesterday I was just talking with my parents, or like we were talking with my mom, and when she was blessed 1995, they were like, basically they had the confession, and they also recommended to, okay, this life you leave behind now, and now you get blessed, and now you start a new life. So many
And you don't
things,
talk about
yeah,
it.
yeah, you don't talk about what happened before, like your past secular life, let's say. It's like, oh, of course, like it's not forced to not talk about it, but it's like, okay, now you started. But here we have much more of these conversations that we can go into, and what can we expect, and to also not have these shocks once we see like our own fallen natures, or the fallen natures of our spouse appearing. It's like, okay, how do we react? Like, what is this normal? Like now, okay, we have to, like, what was, for example, the bureaucracy, like in Switzerland, like, oh, we have to register for the stuff. It's like all these aspects are appearing, but to sensibilize, I think that's a word, that there can be struggles, but that the biggest key is actually that you find a strategy to contend with it, and thus stick together, is very crucial, and a very good reminder no matter what. So yeah, just an addition to what you shared.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Michael and Manon, that you shared your experience and also like part of your journey and your growth in your couple through the Radiant program where you're at now. And thanks everyone for listening. This was another testimony from the Radiant program, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.